Hey guys, welcome back to another Q and A. It is September 12th, 2019. Had a topic this week, fat loss. So anything related to fat loss was fair game, and we've got a good variety of questions. So let me pull up our first thread here. All right. Why is fasted cardio still applicable to most, contrary to some studies that have been done? It's proven its efficacy to most. Is this due to advanced supplementation in conjunction with said fasted state? Okay, yeah, so first off, there are certain supplementation methods, something that's going to release free fatty acids and the presence of a baseline insulin state, which is going to be when you're fasted. So yohimbine HCl and growth hormone being the two main ones. Yeah, you'll need to be fasted pretty much more or less for those things to give you that full fatty acid release, and then you can burn off those fatty acids through that cardio, low intensity or lower intensity, non-glucose intensive, meaning the fatty acids are in the bloodstream. You're doing a lower intensity that is going to utilize those fatty acids as fuel instead of doing a higher intensity that's going to tap into glucose as fuel. So that's why that would work. Now, you're still going to burn the same amount of calories over the day, over the span. So in someone that's not utilizing those compounds, it doesn't really matter, so they can just do it whenever. Some people just like it for convenience, get up and do it, maybe makes them feel good, get a little bit of endorphin release or something, get the blood flowing. They like it for that reason, fits into their schedule good, possibly that way. There's a number of reasons, but yeah, that the supplementation bit would be the main reason why someone would want to do it fasted, or why it would be advantageous to do it fasted. All right. Why do some people mess with DNP? Does it get you in an insane condition, or just don't have to suffer as much, aside from feeling like death apparently? Let's say I got to 4% on 45 times 2, I'm assuming that's cardio a day and low carbs. Would it have been different with DNP? Seems crazy to me. Well, no, it burns calories. It raises basal metabolic rate. It's burning more calories. You can still accomplish the same thing with or without it. It's just burning more calories, and so yeah, you would eat a little bit more, potentially do less activity, have less total caloric expenditure, and it would just help create a deficit, so yeah, it's but yeah, there's some obvious, really extreme side effects from it, like death. But at the same time, a lot of that's dose dependent. It will raise your body temperature in a dose dependent manner. So, and the side effects are very much in a dose dependent manner too. So like the tiredness from the ATP uncoupling and just draining your energy stores, more or less. It's all dose dependent. So, someone could potentially utilize it at a lower dose and get some caloric expenditure from it, not really notice that it's there because they wouldn't feel anything because the dose is lower. But other people take a lot of it and they get all kinds of side effects and feel like shit. And yeah, it's not, and at that point, you're probably getting toxicity from it. Your NEAT levels are probably going down because you're tired. Your training sessions probably aren't as good. So yeah, it's really just defeating the purpose of having a fat burner in play. But no, it's not going to do anything that you couldn't do without it, really. It's just burning more calories. That's literally what it's doing. So all right, starting with a bit of HIIT, then finishing off with LISS. Is this beneficial as opposed to straight LISS? For example, your heart rate is elevated now in the state of LISS. maybe also you have begin to mobilize fatty acids, making this more effective. So yeah, I don't quote me on this. I think it was Lyle McDonald who originally coined this as the stubborn fat loss protocol. It might not have been him. I think it was, but yeah. Yeah, same idea. You're replicating that fasted state if you were to do, or enhancing that free fatty acid mobilization state by doing the HIIT and then doing steady state after it, which that lower intensity cardio is not glucose intensive, so it's going to burn those fatty acids off. Kind of the premise behind it. Yeah, I mean, is it going to necessarily burn more calories? No, because you could still replicate the same calorie expenditure somewhere else. But would it maybe help mobilize fatty acids in some stubborn areas in your body? Maybe, might, you know. I've used it with people when they're really digging deep and trying to get those stubborn areas to go. Does it seem to help? Yeah, it seems to, but at the same time, you know, would they have just achieved that same result with just burning more calories through another means? Maybe. It's hard to say. But in theory, yeah, it seems like it could potentially help mobilize fats in some of those stubborn areas, hence the stubborn fat loss protocol, or I don't remember what I forget what I said I called it. But yeah, that's the idea behind it. Possible to maintain a low or lower body fat settling point post fat loss without all the negative sides, i.e. hunger, low libido, cravings, etc. Short answer is no, because your body wants to return to a homeostatic state, and that also includes returning to a certain amount of body fat. So unless you get back to that state, you are going to probably have those adaptions still there, and probably experience those same side effects. So that's the short answer. Now, have people been able to potentially lower that set point over time, over getting leaner over and over and over again? Seems that way. You know, I don't know. Maybe that was their set point all along and they were just eating themselves to a higher set point. Maybe that was their genetic set point to begin with. It's hard to say. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to indefinitely be able to just keep going through a fat loss phase and then maintain a lower set point every single time. That's not likely to happen. So, not without the side effects. Now, people acclimate to those side effects and they get used to them, and that's their normal. You know, I've seen that with people. They're just in a down, not a terribly down-regulated state, but like a slightly down-regulated state for a long period of time, and that's just what they're used to, so they don't really think about it, you know? So, but the short answer to that would probably be no. All right. Sweet, these are good questions. Next one. Do you find injectable carnitine to be helpful? Well, a lot of people swear by it. A lot of people like it. I could tell you a couple things anecdotally. One, doesn't seem to do much in younger people. Two, seems to do a lot more in older people. So, now, you got to remember you have intramuscular carnitine stores. You get carnitine from dietary sources too, so I'm sure those things play a factor. It seems like, and at least from what I've read, you know, how true this is necessarily, but you probably have lower intramuscular carnitine stores as you age. So that would be part of the reason that it seems to work better as somebody gets older. And then the second would be the dietary portion. How much are you getting from a diet? And yeah, the oral, like having it orally is maybe not necessarily as absorbable, or very, very poor absorption. But yeah, that's just kind of what I've seen. So take that for what it's worth. You can try it and see if it helps. But in younger people, and I don't really have an age to put on that, younger, under 30, I guess, under 35, don't seem to get as much from it as the older, over that age bracket might get. Okay. Opinions on clenbuterol as a fat burner. Yeah, helps. It's gonna help with it's a beta receptor drug. Attack those beta cells, raise caloric expenditure, raise basal metabolic rate to a pretty. It's gonna raise it to a higher extent than pretty much anything else other than probably DNP. Comes with, too, it's one of those things that it does come with side effects in terms of it is systemically stressful. It is going to make you more sympathetically driven in your nervous system. So if it's messing up your sleep really bad and giving you side effects, then you're probably gonna be better off without it. Probably gonna perform better and have higher NEAT levels and burn more calories and have all this stuff better without it. Now, if it helps you, then probably it's gonna be good in that case. But yeah, you have to kind of weigh pros and cons there. Another thing too is in regards to dose, some people just think that they have to go to this maximum dose and they'll get no benefit if they're at a lower dose. That's not necessarily true. Like anything, like kind of mentioned alluded to in the DNP thing, it's like if you can get something that does help and it works in the background, you don't really notice it's there. Yeah, it might not be giving you the max punch of caloric expenditure, but it's giving you a benefit and you're not getting the side effect. So, if you think of it in that regard, and then you have multiple things together creating synergy, you might be better off that way. So, all right, two more. Do you feel T4 is necessary with growth hormone long term? That's a good question. Yeah, you see it floating around. You see both sides of the camp. Some people that are really hell bent on you have to have it, and others that not really so much. So purely from seeing actual lab work, I have seen it raise TSH, and even while T4 and T3 may be normal, and what that probably means is that your thyroid gland is raising TSH in order to produce more of those thyroid hormones to keep your thyroid hormone levels normal. So that's what that higher TH would be indicative, or TSH would be indicative of, because it is just basically trying to maintain those thyroid hormones. Also seen T4 go down, but T3 maintain. So there's that. And then I've also seen it do nothing, because the thyroid gland is just compensating. If there is any lowering effect, then the thyroid gland's compensating by producing more, and you're fine. Measure your levels. Just measure levels. Even if you notice thyroid hormones, your active thyroid hormones like T4, T3, or especially T3, are normal, but your TSH is going through the roof, and your thyroid gland's working really hard to compensate there for some lowering effect, then potentially it might be worthwhile in that case. But if everything's relatively normal, or it maybe goes up and then normalizes, then you don't just need to throw another drug at it. So yeah, that'd be how you can look at it, because I've not seen an exact trend, and it's also going to be in a dose dependent manner, because 2 IUs versus 10 IUs is likely going to elicit a different effect to the overall hormone feedback loop. So there you go. All right, guys, that is it for this week, and I appreciate everyone's questions.